Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And I hope that you've all had a great weekend and not too stressful, but it is possible that you guys have. And I'd like to suggest that this week we've seen, the passing of Her Majesty. We've seen, for some of us, that loss will have brought up. Memories of the loss of Princess Diana, I'm pretty sure for some of you. Today, we're honoring the victims of 9/11. So when you look at it all, we've got a lot of things going on. And what I'd like to say is that not only do we have all these global things happening, but we also have our own stuff happening. So I thought it was a good opportunity today for us to talk a little bit more about how do you cope with that much stress and not end up in overwhelm. So that's the goal for today. How to stay away from just getting into that hamster wheel where your mind just keeps going round and round. Yeah, I think you all know that horrible feeling. And so that's what we're up to today. And hello there to Jeannie, to Jody, and also to Hawkeye. Nice to see you, Hawkeye, from one of my favorite cities, Quesnel. And for those of you going, where is Quesnel? It's in British Columbia. And I wrote a book there, so I have very fond connection with Quesnel. I actually intentionally went to Quesnel to go sit by a lake called Bushy Lake, and I spent, I think, close to 2 weeks writing a book there. So it's amazing that you can do that if you just isolate yourself away somewhere quietly. I was in um, a camping trailer, and I just literally spent the whole time with my laptop. I was out during the day with my laptop, writing outside, and at night I'd continue inside. But I really kept very good focus. Now, talking about keeping focus, I've got a little bit of an issue today because it is the U.S. final, tennis final. At the same time as this broadcast. And I think some of you know that I'm quite a keen fan of the little Spaniard, Carlos. And Carlos is in the final. So you'll forgive me, I've got the sort of scores keeping track here as well. And so that is just like, if you see me every now and then just stall, I'm checking the score. At the moment, they're one set each. He's playing against Rudd. They're one set each, and Rudd is 5-4 in the third set. So we'll do that. So happy birthdays first for those of you. Oh, let me just first of all say, for those of you who might not be regulars, I just wanted to let you know that Dear Mama Sal is not just me. It's a group of people who get together. And we get together about 3 times a week. And what we do is we talk about real life stuff. Friday lunchtime, we talk about coping with our feelings. Friday evening, we talk about cooking on a budget. Sunday afternoon, we talk about coping with stress. So if those are topics that you like, please remember to give us a thumbs up. And that will just make sure that people know this is worth watching. Birthdays today, it was Jeannie's on the 8th. It is birthday today for Beth's husband, Charles. And I did hear from Erin, and she is still GO for go for an operation on the 15th. However, some of you will know that's also the passing anniversary of the passing of her father. So, it's just like it's a difficult week for her as well. And a lot of us. So just, I wish I hadn't done that. I don't know why that little bit is, yeah, never mind. Um, anyway, so the other thing is I'd like to send thoughts and prayers for anybody else who might be needing them this week. And that includes to myself, all right? I could do with some thoughts and prayers this week. As some of you know, I'm waiting for the results of a second mammogram I had because I failed the first one. Well, they saw something they didn't like. And so they sent me back for a second one, and that one was a really serious one. And now, of course, I'm waiting for those results. I thought I'd have them on Friday, but I didn't. So we're going to talk about that. I wanted to also just give a heads up here on the fact that we've got some viewers that have really made great progress on this subject about getting off the hamster wheel and understanding. Oh, Jeannie's saying she sees the doctor tomorrow about the therapy for her knee. Okay, so we'll make sure we make a note of that for the follow-up next week to find out how it all went. And the other thing is, of course, Jeannie, you could let me know if you choose to, and let me know that it's okay for me to share that information, and I'll put it up for the viewers that are following your progress. And best of luck. We give you a big hug and hope for the best there. I wanted to give you just a quick story because I want to talk about learning to cope with controlling your mind. Is something that is an ongoing learning process, right? And some of you will understand that you have lost control of your mind because you went into depression, or you get overcome with anxiety. And believe you me, I understand both of those things. Some of you get overwhelmed with sadness. It's been a really sad week, hasn't it? And but I understand all those things because I've been there and been overwhelmed in my life. So what I wanted to do is to just check with you and see how you're doing. But I wanted to start off with a story of success. All of you that are regulars know about Lauren, our viewer in Tasmania. That's the little island south of Australia. And she's in Tasmania. She's in a wheelchair, has been for her whole life. And she's got a mother that also is bedridden. Or is in a wheelchair and or bedridden. I'm not quite sure which, because it fluctuates depending on her health. And not so long ago, she ended up in hospital with pneumonia. And that would be a couple of months ago. Luckily, she survived that. But I want to give a heads up on this one, which is that she ended up in hospital again this week. But I want to give kudos to Lauren, because Lauren this time caught the symptoms earlier. Now, she still ended up in hospital, but Lauren managed to catch the symptoms before they became pneumonia the second time. So I just want to say, how did she do that? She realized the first time when she was freaking out because her mother had pneumonia, that because they live in the same house, she could lower her stress levels if she caught her mother's deterioration in terms of her breathing more quickly. And I thought that was a wonderful thing. And this time she caught it more quickly. And because of that, she ended up not getting pneumonia and more easily treated, which, if you think about it, is less stress for the mom and also for Lauren. Does that make sense to all of you? So sometimes the way to reduce your stress is to pay more attention to things that need to be paid attention to. And I just want to give Lauren a big heads up on that one. So my question to you all is, how are you doing with processing the passing of Her Royal Highness? Now, I noticed Jeannie said that she watched the cortege procession drive from Balmoral all the way through to Holyrood, the castle in Holyrood, the Holyrood Castle. And that is in Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland. Now, I must admit, Jeannie, I also watched that. And at a time that I should have been sleeping. But that's a once in a lifetime event. And what I'm going to talk about today is every now and then your balance may shift, because of the importance of what it is that you are doing or trying to do. But I found that really the scenery alone, really you got to understand why she loved that part of Scotland so much. Because, just the scenery that, they had a helicopter or a drone overhead following her, and you just could see all the beautiful greenery and the fields and how rural it was. And then every now and then you come across a little hamlet. It wasn't even a village. Sometimes it was just a hamlet, a few houses, but all the people were out to watch her go by. And it was very, very moving. But I also found it incredibly peaceful. And apparently, she had insisted on doing that route. She wanted the people of Scotland to get a chance to say goodbye. And now she will lie in the cathedral in Edinburgh, I think, overnight, and then head her way down to London. I'm sorry that she's not going via Cardiff. I would have thought that it would have been appropriate for her to do the next leg to Cardiff because that's Wales. But I guess she's also not going to Northern Ireland. So be it. Anyway, she's going back to London and we'll watch her there. So how are you all coping with that? Are you feeling any better about it? Are any of you still obsessing about it in any way? I just wanted to get an idea of how you've done and what you've done to cope with the way that you've got your stress levels so far. And the reason I say that is because I do believe that these are very important things for you to understand. Whether we like it or not, this was sadness overload this week. Even if we don't add in your personal problems, your personal concerns, your personal losses, it was a pretty emotional week, wasn't it? So on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think you're doing really well, like 10 out of 10, or do you think you're doing about 5 out of 10? How are you doing? Jodie's saying, I'm still sad, but not obsessing. I have been fascinated by what I've learned about the Queen. Yes, it's a pretty important. Jodie's saying she's doing moderately well, maybe a 6. Those of you who might be watching on the replay, why don't you just let us know your score and how you're feeling about it? Really important. And the next question is, how many of you linked the passing of Her Majesty to the passing of Princess Diana? How many of you found it was impossible to think about the one without thinking about the other? And maybe a loss in your life as well. And what I want you to understand is that is perfectly normal. You see, you've opened up a filing cabinet called grief. And in there is not only, you've got to open it up to be able to put Her Majesty in there. But when you open it up, who pops up? Diana. All right. Or a personal loss, right? Because they're all in that same cabinet. Does that make sense? Yeah, Jodie's saying that's exactly what happened to me. I thought of Diana and then her mother's passing as well. So Jodie, you understand why that librarian in your head went to the grief filing cabinet and opened it up and out they came. All right. Now, the trick is, and what I want to do today is to help you a little bit in terms of getting everything back into that cabinet and being able to close the door or drawer. Let's put it that way. How many of you then almost clean forgot about 9/11 because, it was just like, what is it about this time of the year? And am I correct? For those of you who understand what I'm about to say, we just went into Mercury in retrograde as well. So it's just like, so a really tough week for a lot of people. So how many of you, yes, Jeannie's saying there's a memorial service for 9/11. So York's daughter and our granddaughter arrived here. All right. And Jeannie's saying she asked whether they wanted to have dinner with them tonight, or her daughter asked if they wanted to do dinner tonight. And Jeannie said, no, I like to plan, not do things spontaneously. Yes, that's looking after yourself. Very good. Very good. All right. And you're going to see them on Tuesday or Wednesday. That is very good self-care. All right. This is like you've got too much going on at the moment. You need to process a bit more before you can settle down. That's looking after yourself, Jeannie. I'm very proud of you. But for some people, I'm pretty sure this week has felt like grieving overload. So That's why I wanted to make sure that we revisited this whole thing. Yes, Jeannie's got a doctor's appointment this week, all right? And she needs to concentrate on that. Is that on Tuesday or is it tomorrow? I know you told me, and I think it's tomorrow. I could be wrong. Yep, it is tomorrow. Okay, good. Well, all the best for that one, all right? So, and I hope that they find some improvement in your knee. And as some of you know, we've got Erin, for example, who's dealing with all the other things that we're all dealing with, but also about to go into hospital on Wednesday to have her pain pump thing updated. They reshoot it full of whatever, I think. But the interesting thing is because Erin is already very movement challenged, right? She only has use of her one hand and luckily her brain. But she normally they would say, not to be sleeping on your stomach after this operation. But, Erin doesn't have a choice on that one, right? She's going to have to be propped up on that side so they can lift her body weight off the incision. All right, so Hawkeye is saying, I'm not necessarily shocked about her passing because she was 96 after all. Yes, exactly. But I think it overwhelmed by the nature of the change itself because she's been such a constant through all our lives. Yes. Yeah, she was the Rock of Gibraltar, wasn't she? And went on to say, it just makes me reflect on passing of time itself and how many people we've lost along the way. Yes. And that is perfectly normal. Okay? You understand? When you open up that cabinet, all the losses are available to you again. Ones that you had managed to stop thinking about suddenly come popping back up again. And they come in waves. So that's something else. Jeannie's saying the Queen was so emotionally strong that we thought she'd live longer. Well, I think 96 is living longer anyway, but yes. And I think as well that, there's some question about whether, King Charles will have the same emotional strength that she did. All right. And that's going to be a problem. I wrote to one of our viewers from England who wrote to me, and what I said was, what I want you to do. And she said, we got a new prime minister that doesn't necessarily care for the working class, so that's her perception. And now we've got Charles, and we're not sure how strong he's going to be as a king. And I said, what I'd like to do is to ask you to give them both 5 years, because 5 years from now, it's going to look totally different. And things we worry about today are not necessarily going to happen. And I do believe that we, need to give them both, time to do whatever it is that they need to do. Make sense? So I'm, as you know, waiting to find out the results of my second mammogram. And I thought I'd let you know that I have not been obsessing. I am aware, because I'm not stupid, I am aware that there is a possibility that I will find out this week that I have cancer. However, that's not necessarily the point or the truth. What I want you to understand is what I'm really going to find out this week is whether what they saw on the first mammogram has been confirmed on the second, and that would be that I have a mass. That is really what I'm going to find out. Now, I also want you to understand that the reason I'm not obsessing is, number one, I am really working hard at controlling my mind because, of course, it's so easy to awfulize, isn't it? And the second thing is, I also am trying very hard to stay off the hamster wheel by only dealing with facts. And the facts are, I'm either going to hear that I have or have not got a mass here, right here. And what I then think about is, once that's my first step to find out, is, do I have a mass confirmed? If it's yes, then they will obviously want a biopsy. So I know what the next step is. Because the next step, when you think about it, is it benign or not? In other words, is it just a mass, but not dangerous to me? No, it's not cancer. Jody, could you look up for me, please? Because I meant to do it before the broadcast and I forgot. Could you check how many lumps in the boobs are benign rather than cancerous? Could you see if you can find? I believe that we do need to know that answer, because what I want people to understand is one step at a time. Don't go from 0 to 60. All right. I'd like to suggest that if I did have that problem, I'd probably be losing weight pretty fast at the moment, right? And I'm not. So I'm not overly worried. However, there are ways that I stop obsessing, because I am human. Do you think I get scared a little bit every now and then? Do you think I get a little bit angry? Do I think whatever? I'm normal. I'm a human being. Of course I do. But the point is, I don't spend a lot of time. It's fleeting, and then I move on with my life. Jody is confirming. Thank you so much, Jody. Of all breast lumps, 60 to 80% are benign. So, do you understand? I was pretty sure it was that high, Jody, and I never bothered to look it up because I was pretty sure. Hawkeye is saying, many people don't want to acknowledge their health. My grandmother is in her late 70s, a lifelong smoker, and still is, and doesn't want to see a doctor because she's afraid of receiving bad news or concern. Do you know something? My sister is the same, all right? And it depends on your makeup. I think those of us who can cope with that sort of news would rather know. But it's a personal thing. I understand some people just don't want to know. So the first thing that I do, and I'm not saying it's the only way because it isn't, but I always promised I would share with you the truth of what I'm up to. So the first thing I do is I do plan my day in hours. All right. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure I keep interrupting that thought pattern if it's gone a little bit too far and I'm beginning to lose control. So what I do is during the day, and Jody will attest to this, I actually have a sort of process that I go through. I sit and do emails and stuff like that. And then after an hour, I get up, and do something. And then after another hour, I go back and sit again. But what I do is I balance the mind stuff and the physical stuff. Does that make sense? I don't sit all day on the couch thinking, because I know where that leads. I've been there. I will do 1 hour of housework, followed by 1 hour of thinking or resting or emailing or doing stuff like, you understand? Because they're two different things. But after I've finished an hour of resting, I will make sure that I go outside for an hour. I normally do it in 2 bits. I go out for half an hour in the morning and another half an hour in the evening. Now, my time outside is really important time. Why? I know it takes fresh air to keep healthy. All right? I know it takes fresh air to keep healthy. So if you can't get outside, I understand that. Open a window, wrap up warmly and open a window, or sit by a window for 15 minutes. Get fresh air into your home. I do it even in the middle of winter. I will literally open my patio door wide open and go outside and be, if necessary, if it's pouring with rain or something, I will just do things tidy up my deck or something. All right, but let fresh air into my house. Now, does that kick off the furnace? Yes, but what I do is I keep the furnace low until after I've done that, and then I bring it back up again. And then I give myself permission. Do you get this? After I've done something like that, I give myself permission to go back and think again. Because that's important. It's important to grieve. It is terribly important that we don't stuff this down, right? We need to mourn. We need to grieve. We need to think. We need to have that moment, but don't let it be all day. Eventually, what I do is I then look at the time and, oh gosh, it's been another hour. In fact, my watch tells me. Then I go, oh, it's time to get up again and do something. Why? Keeping in balance is going to keep me healthy. So the question that I have is, how many of you have learned the hard way about what stuffing hurtful things like anger, sadness, grieving, that stuffing it down and pretending it's not happening is not good for you? How many of you have had the downside of that one? All right, so Hawkeye's saying it's good to have a set amount of time to just check in with yourself and take notes of all the fears, worries, arising sensations going on within you. You know, I do that, as you will hear, I do that because I start working on them. There's a good reason why I have that fear. There's a good reason why I'm frustrated. There's a good reason why I'm angry. But then I start taking proactive steps so that I can get out of that feeling. It's not going to go away on its own, is it? You see, I know that stuffing those sadness thoughts right down is not good for my mental health. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why Jeannie has hidden Hawkeye. Let me just put him back in again. I know that Jeannie does this occasionally, so I'm not sure if I can get these back in. Let me read you what he has said, just so that I can make sure we've got it. All right, so Hawkeye is saying the mind's job is to create thoughts and judgments. Hang on a second. It was a mistake, Hawkeye. She didn't mean to do that. I just want to unhide. I don't think I can. Anyway, just because they exist and you acknowledge their existence doesn't mean you have to believe them. That's something I'm starting to learn. Yes, not only that. Thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Jody managed to get it fixed. Jeannie, I don't know what happened, but maybe you accidentally touched your mouse and that happened. All right, Hawkeye, good to see you there. All right, so here's what I was saying. I know that stuffing down sadness is not good for my mental health. Do we all know that? Stuffing down anger is not good for your mental health. Stuffing down frustration is not good for your mental health. What's good is owning it. I am angry. Now, how you do it is what we're going to talk about. But understanding that and acknowledging it and owning it is where you need to be. So I keep giving myself time to feel, time to hurt, time to be scared, time to mourn, time to grieve, right? And I do that every hour. right? Every hour. So I'm retired, and I understand that being retired, I have more hours available to me than those who might be working. But it doesn't have to be an hour, right? You can chop your days into 10-minute segments. 10 minutes grieving, 10 minutes doing something, 15 minutes, whatever you choose. But what I suggest is that you balance it. There are a lot of good reasons, and this is what I want to show you. I would like to say that you might want to take your thinking time when you go to the washroom, right? Because you're going to be sitting down. And you're going to be thinking, maybe take a notepad and paper and just, keep asking yourself, what am I, and write down the key things. What am I angry about? What am I frustrated about? What am I sad about? And just have a checklist. If you're somebody that likes to have a journal or a day timer of some sort, maybe you print out some pages so you can fill it in every day. Hawkeye is saying, yes, even if it's suppressed, those intrusive thoughts and feelings are all going to resurface at some point or other. But the sooner you acknowledge it, the more manageable it is. Thank you. That's exactly. So what I do, though, is I actually work through them. All right. I say, okay, I am definitely shocked, all right, at the passing of the Queen. Even though we all expected it, I was shocked. And then I go, why was I shocked? I expected it. Yeah, but like was said, I thought she would probably live forever, which I know wasn't true. Right, and Hawkeye is saying suppressed or delayed feelings, the more intense those feelings tend to be. Yes, so if you keep revisiting them, how can I word this? If you keep revisiting it, you sort of numb yourself a little bit so that it's no longer hurting you as much. Judy's saying, I have to go. Okay, there's a Wheaton Terrier she wants to see on TV. All right, take care, Jeannie, and thanks, Jody. So, do you understand that maybe doing this when you go for bathroom breaks isn't a bad idea, right? Because you go there fairly regularly, and I actually always make sure I have a pen and paper next to me when I go for bathroom breaks, or that I take my phone. Why? I know I always have feelings. I can, it's a moment of sitting down and not doing very much. But even that's good for your health. Why? Because you will sit there a little bit longer, and that's also good. Yeah, we're trying to rush there and rush back out again. So think about that as a twofer. So the lesson: it's okay to have these feelings that stress you out, but only you can decide how long you're going to have them for. Right? And can you control them? It's okay to have them. You need to have them. You need to look at them. But can you not obsess about them, right? In other words, can you not spend a whole day curled up on the couch feeling the pain? I've always heard that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice, right? How long we suffer for is up to us, because we have the ability to change our thinking, even for a little while. And I'm going to talk about that. So I divert my mind every hour. I make sure I'm doing things that bring me achievement. Why? Why do I concentrate on doing things that will bring me achievement? Hawkeye is saying, even though it was not at all surprising, the passing of Her Majesty, it still felt surreal. Yes, I quite agree. And Jody's saying it can be difficult to stop or slow down those looping thoughts, right? The hamster wheel thoughts when you're going round and round and round. It can be hard, but we know it can be done. How do we do it? Take the emotion out of it and just work out what the facts are. If we take that as an example, the only fact was that she died. Do you understand? And when you get honest with yourself, was it inevitable? Yes. So all the rest of it is emotion, right? All the rest of it's emotion. Focus on the facts. Stay in the moment. Now, when I decided to watch the cortege go through Scotland, or for many hours on its way to Edinburgh, I stayed real and I went, "You're meant to be sleeping." And I went, "I know that. I'm not stupid. I know that. And are you aware that you are choosing to lose sleep to watch this?" And I went, "Absolutely. And the reason I'm choosing, it's a once in a lifetime event. And I want to be part of that history. I want to be able to say that I watched that cortege go through Scotland, or at least I watched about half of it." So, do you understand that that was a conscious choice then? It wasn't that I did it accidentally. And then I said, "And you're lucky it's Sunday because it means you can sleep until lunchtime if necessary. And then you are retired. You don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning or anything. You can do this in your own time. That gives me control. I am choosing to do this with my life." Do you understand the difference? Now, I asked the question, why do I concentrate on stopping thinking and starting achieving, doing something that will bring achievement? That's one of the things I look for. Let me do something that will be achievement. And the reason is achievement brings out certain hormones, all right? Good ones. And they will balance the stress ones. So rather than get what I call a lot of picky little things done, I will say, what can I do today that will bring me achievement, knowing that that will help balance out the negative hormones that came out from the stress. Now then, how many things can you think of that will bring you achievement hormones rather than sadness hormones? Let's see how many things we can think of. Really important, because you've got lots of choices on what you can do. And some of you have got different ways of doing it, all right? Just depending on what your situation is, what your lifestyle is. I keep thinking, how many of you remember Charlotte's story? We met Charlotte when she was in serious depression. I believe I'm fair and correct in saying, I think she was clinically depressed. The question is, to what level? Was it medium clinical depression? I don't know, but I think it was. And I'll get Charlotte to confirm it one time when we next talk to her. So the thing is this, she was in a bad way when we first met her, but she found out that moving out of home, funnily, was less stressful for her. Right? She lived with her parents at the time. And she found out one thing was that to move out of her parents' home was less stressful for her, even though she'd have to cope with more loneliness or bills and all sorts of things, but it helped her grow up. Does that make sense? And growing up for her helped her get more healthy. Hawkeye is saying, the same thing happened to me today. I was obsessing over why girls I liked weren't texting me at all. LOL, laughing out loud. So I powered off my phone and started cleaning my room. A great use of that frustration. All right. That's one of the keys. Benji taught us that, right? Whenever you get angry, sad, or whatever, use that energy to clean is a really good thing. Right? And it brings achievement. And I'd like to suggest, Hawkeye, that they're not texting you back because they don't realize how nice you are. If they did, they'd be texting you back in a hurry. Now, going back to Charlotte's story, because there's a lot to be learned from Charlotte. Charlotte then decided, once she'd left home, for some reason, out of the blue, she decided she's going to exercise. She made a commitment to herself. She was going to go outside. Actually, she didn't say exercise. She's going to go outside for half an hour every day, without any concern about the weather. Now, she lives in the far east side of Canada, and the weather there gets pretty hairy in the winter. Pretty hairy, putting it mildly. But she said her goal was to do it every day for 365 days, regardless of how she felt, regardless of the weather. And she did that. And she not only did that, But you understand all that fresh air, all that half an hour different thinking time, because you're thinking now with air, fresh air getting into your lungs, into your brain, fresh oxygen is getting to your brain. She did that for a year, and she was then entering into 5-kilometer road walks and things, doing all sorts of amazing things. So what do we know? Number one is get some exercise. Doesn't matter what it is. Think of it as it is my fresh air time. And as I said, I've turned mine into 2 different ones. I do one in the morning and one in the evening. Now, for me, my fresh air time, it doesn't matter what I do. Am I breathing in fresh air is the only criteria. So I'm not looking to walk 5 kilometers. I'm not looking to do any major thing. I'm out there just to take in fresh air. Do you understand how that takes a lot of stress off? And what I found is when I do that, I take away a lot of the excuses why I shouldn't do it. When I just go, hey, I don't have to do anything. If I really want to, I could sit out on my covered deck and just breathe in fresh air. Oh, interesting. Hawkeye's saying, I find taking ice cold showers help me chill out. Yeah, that sure wakes you up and brings you into the present. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. So do you understand that when she did that, every day she didn't bow down and cave into an excuse. Oh, it's raining. I don't think I'll go. 2 foot of snow on the ground. I don't think I'll go. All those things, she didn't give herself that luxury. She just took control of her mind and said, I'm going to do it anyway. And that's why she got healthy. You see, I'm a great believer that if you suffer from things like depression and anxiety, which I have done for a lot of my life, what I found is those pills alone don't fix you. You got to do something. And when you do something, you fix yourself. And if you keep doing those things every day of your life, as Charlotte has, you don't need the pills anymore. Why? Because your brain is getting enough fresh oxygen. You're beginning to interrupt those negative thoughts. You're beginning to do things that bring you success, and that feels good, and that balances out the negative stuff. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I am in awe of what Charlotte has done. And as Jody said, Charlotte is an inspiration and very, very important, right? So number one, get fresh air. Don't worry about exercise as much as get fresh air. It will give you a chance to interrupt those thought processes. Number 2 lesson, right, was given to us by Hawkeye, which is use the energy in a positive way. So whenever you get that negative energy, then say, I've looked at it. I've taken the time to look at it. Preferably write it down because you need to work on it. And then say, now I know I've got all that energy inside me. I can now choose to use it in a positive way. How many of you understand that's when I do my spring cleaning tasks, all right? If I'm getting a bit overwhelmed, I will go back to my next spring cleaning task. So why? Because that takes a lot of energy and stuff to get that going. And I'm still in the process, as you know, of cleaning out all of my greenhouse window. And it's difficult to see because of the glare of the sun. But that sun is not hot like it used to be. But during a different time of day, you will see I've got 6 different major plants, 3 peppers and 3 tomatoes now growing in that window. And as I continue, I will have more at the back that will come up and over as well. So and you understand, doing that is nurturing. Nurturing is good as well because it gives us peace. It makes us smile. So very, very important. So you need to do things that will balance out. Now, I found an interesting thing today, because you know me. I find curiosity balances as well. How many of you remember the color of these roses last week? Huh? They were orange last week. Peach and orange. And suddenly I noticed that the new roses, and those blooms died, so I cut them off. But do you notice the new roses are yellow? How many of you know I went WTF? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Why on earth are they yellow? And then I worked it out. Anybody want to work out why? You see, I think solving puzzles is good for balancing. So I thought, how is it possible they were orange last week and they're yellow this week? Anybody want to take a guess? I think I worked it out. And because I think I worked it out, once I'm going to give you time to guess, but then what we're going to do is I'm going to do the experiment to find out, see if I can do what I think happened, and then create. Well, here's what I thought, Jody. What would happen if when I watered the flowers, what would happen if I put red food dye in the water? Can you see that could change the bloom from yellow to orange? So how many of you know that's my experiment this week? All right, find the food dyes. I've got some somewhere, and feed it red. And I'm pretty sure. Now, part of me wants to feed it blue. All right, Hawkeye is saying, I find fall is the most difficult time for me when it comes to coping with my feelings. So I've been feeling a perpetual sense of dread lately in anticipation of the inevitable fall depression. All right, so you suffer from SAD syndrome. As the days get shorter, you get feel more stressed. Okay, so do I. Want to know what I do? You see, if you know it happens, you can do something about it, right? So I don't feel perpetual sense of dread. That's not going to help me. How is that going to help me? Worrying about, oh my gosh, any minute now I'm going to feel terrible. You see, what I go is, I know that. So guess what? I do things to make me feel better. What is the one thing we know? You get SAD syndrome because the days have got shorter, and that means you're getting less light. Makes sense, Hawkeye? Do you know how many natural light bulbs I have in my house? Right? I made sure that instead of having old-fashioned lights, I've got high number of very bright LED lights in my house now. Why? I know that I need light. Right? Light brings plus, Hawkeye, do you take vitamin D? Good. You lose white light therapy and vitamin D. Good. Doesn't fix the whole issue for you. No. But what it does is it reduces it. If you sit and worry about any minute now, I'm going to feel terrible, guess what you're going to do? What if you decided this year, because I know it's important to me, I'm going to buy 2 or 3 other natural light bulbs. That's going to be my gift to myself, so that I make sure that instead of having regular bulbs, I've got these extra natural light bulbs, to give me, and therefore I will feel it less this year. I've got to the stage where I don't feel it at all if I keep doing the right things. But if you sit and worry about it, wasn't it Elvis that was dead scared he was going to die early because his mother did? And he did. All right. So, you can bring that on if you want to. That's called looking for a problem, Hawkeye. If you keep saying, any minute now I'm going to feel terrible, then guess what you will do? Keeping up the vitamin D is critical. How much vitamin D do you take? Is it enough? If you're still feeling terrible, maybe it's not enough. You might want to have that conversation with your doctor. The other thing is, you might want to change the way you eat, right? Which is something else that we're going to talk about in a minute. So do you understand that 30 minutes a day of doing something creative, right, has been proven to create serotonin, which is a good brain juice, all right? All right? And will also lower your anxiety. So here's my question. Are you being creative enough? How many of you know part of my creativity is nurturing plants and things and going, oh, that's yellow. It has to do with color. It's creative. How do I get those to go orange? And I thought about it for quite a while I was sitting in the thinking room, which is what I call it now. My washroom's my thinking room. And, I was in there and I went, how would they do that? And I waited for an answer. Well, if it's yellow now, but it was bright orange, what would have to have been added? Red. And then I went, oh no, that's too easy. They fed it with red water. Right. So Jody, could you take a screenshot for me just so that I can have that shot, and then we'll show the two together after I've tried the extra. Right. And so Hawkeye is saying he plays Stratocaster. All right. So it doesn't matter what you do. Jody crochets. She's started to do that. Now, I will talk about this a bit more. But I do know that the time I know to do it is when my brain starts going into looping, as Jody calls it. I call it the hamster wheel, where it's just going round and round. And I go, okay, if I'm not getting anywhere, right? If I'm feeling I'm not getting anywhere. So if I'm not getting anywhere, it's a waste of time. Now, if I'm sitting going, I'm feeling frustrated. What am I frustrated about? I'm frustrated about this. Well, what are you going to do about it? And I take notes. That is fine. That's not hamster wheel stuff. I'm dealing with fixing the problem. But if I'm just going, oh, I'm so sad, I've just heard that so-and-so's ill and and I, and I'm really frustrated because I don't know what to do. And I'm really anxious now because it might happen to me or whatever, and you're going, that is a total waste of your time and effort. Get to the facts. What are the facts? Right? Once you can do that, you can start working on them. So Jody has all sorts of illnesses going on. We know that. And yet she is here every single time we broadcast. And she is there for me all during the week as well, and for some of you as well. And yet she probably has more going on in her life, illness-wise, than any of you want to think about. And she told me she's going back to crochet, and I was so pleased to hear it. Why? It's something creative. It will slow her mind down. But there's another reason. Jody suffers from really bad arthritis. Now you're going, wait a minute. If she's got really bad arthritis, doesn't it hurt her to do crochet? You bet it does. But you know what Jody's worked out? And rightly so. If she doesn't use those fingers, she's going to totally lose the use of them. And by the way, Jody, I will find out more about it, but one of my neighbors has horrific arthritis in all of her joints. All right. And she said to me, I don't know if you know this, Jody, she said to me, it gets to a point where they, I don't know if you can see, but this finger here has started to take a turn. Can you see that? And all hers are gnarly. And she said, there comes a time, Sal, where they stop hurting and they start, they're not pretty, but you start having use of them again. Right. And Jody's saying she also has deformity. I've also got it happening in my little finger on this hand. And the reason I know, can you see how the nail is growing? The nail is not growing straight. It's growing downhill for some reason. And I've tried shaping the nail so that, it's all, but what I know is it's all to do with arthritis. But why would Jody, if it gives her great pain to do crochet, why would she do it? Well, think about it from what we know. Number one, if she doesn't use those fingers, she's going to get more and more arthritis, and using them will help stave off the arthritis. We know that. Even if it's painful for her to do it, it will help keep them a little bit more subtle. But we also know that she has great pain while she's doing it. So why would she do it? Well, she knows it's good for her mental health to slow her brain down, to stop thinking about all the what ifs, and just start doing something creative. But she isn't doing on creative stuff for herself. No, that's not Jody, right? She is busy knitting, or rather crocheting, infinity scarves to give away to the homeless people at Christmas. Can you imagine how much love is going into each one of those scarves? You see, and how much joy she is getting out of doing it. And Jody's saying it does help her anxiety. You see, it's perfectly natural for you to be anxious with all that's going on, Jody. But what you're doing is you are balancing. I am so proud of you. By the way, I need to do a quick tennis update for anybody who's interested. My little Spaniard, I think he's the youngest person ever to be in the US final, but I could be wrong. He's now 4-2 up in what could be the last set, because he's already won 2 of them. It's very exciting for me. And of course, some of you, I've even turned my television around, so if I wanted to, I could watch, but I thought that would be too distracting. I'm sure it'll be shown on television quite a bit tonight. By the way, one of the things she worked out was maybe doing it with very thin wool with very small crochet needle isn't the brightest thing. So she decided to do it with a bigger crochet needle, so she didn't have to press those fingers too much together. And so does working with a bigger crochet hook absolutely help you? There is the question. And by the way, it's a twofer. Not only is she being creative, no, it's a threefer. Not only is she being creative, not only is she using those joints, but thirdly, she is contributing. And contribution also is another thing to bring balance. All right? Give to other people what it is you need for yourself. So, it's just like, it's a really important thing to understand that. So if you haven't donated your time, do so. In my case, I have 2 neighbors, both of whom are dealing with cancer. And one of them not only has cancer, but will have a pacemaker put in this week. So you understand, I'm doing what I can to be a buddy to her, because why wouldn't I? It's something I can do. And she really is such a gung-ho person. She's another Jody, Even though she's got all this going on, she was off at the casino and, having fun in the casino this week. And she was off, shopping at IKEA this week and doing, it's just like, if I was dealing with what she's dealing with, I'm not sure I would be quite as active as she is, but that's her way of balancing. She keeps herself busy. Some of you will have found the magic of meditation. Now, some of you do meditation by prayer. It is a form of meditation if you think about it. Then some of you will have found that you learned how to do meditation for yourself. And some of you will perhaps even go to YouTube or something and get some guided meditations that are on YouTube. Hawkeye is saying, I need to get 100 community volunteer hours in order to get put on the wait list for social work program. And I want to get into it next year. We will find out how much you want to get into it. All right? 100 community hours is not that many when you think about it. You could do it in one season. What are you prepared to give up so you can make that time? Because you've already filled your day. So what are you prepared to give up doing to give yourself 100 hours? That's the way you need to look at it. I'm not going to have the time. I need to make it. So something has to give. Maybe you stop playing your game. Or maybe you stop playing your game for 2 hours a week and that you stop doing something else for 2 hours a week. Do you understand, Hawkeye? It's a trade-off. Jody's saying, I enjoy the sounds of the ocean and rainstorms on YouTube videos. Yes, they help me relax and prepare for sleep. As you know, Jody, because I told you about that, I actually go to bed and don't even try to go to sleep for an hour. I go to bed and I play games on my phone. And I then, when I start feeling that the phone is getting heavy, I actually turn on a program where I read, use my phone as a Kindle. I start reading. And when I find that and I normally lie down on my side when I'm doing that. And when I find I start dropping the phone, what do I know? I'm ready to go to sleep. So I turn the phone off and boom, go to sleep. Hawkeye saying, yes, I'm just not sure the type of volunteering I want to do yet, but I have to start those volunteer hours before the application opens on the 1st of October. Well, you don't have to. You only have to if you want to be, if you want that social job internship, whatever it is, right? You see, don't think it's a have to, right? All right, you like working with seniors or youth at risk. What about, I don't know, but what about if you can handle old people or youth at risk? Have you thought about maybe volunteering at the local hospital to be there for people, who maybe don't have visitors? Candy striper, is that what they call it? What does a candy striper do? And I'm not sure what the right word is for it, but they're always looking for volunteers who can help distract people. Whenever I need to go to a hospital to visit somebody, I nearly always, and something I've just got into the habit of doing, I always check in with the nursing station and said, have you got anybody that doesn't have visitors? And they go, what? And I said, well, I'm here and I'm not in a rush. Do you have anybody on your ward that doesn't have visitors or very few? And, every time they've said, actually, yes, Mrs. So-and-so on bed 6 and ward, whatever. And I go, thank you. Is it okay for me to go visit her? All right. And they will look at me like I came off some other planet. And they go, absolutely. How kind of you. And I go, no, it's not kind. Not kind at all. I'm going to feel better when I've done it. I am going to feel better when I've done it. I hope she will too, but I know I will. And so what I will do is I will go to Mrs. Whatever on bed 6, ward 2, and I go, hi, my name's Sal, and I decided to visit you today. How are you doing? Is it okay if I sit on the side of your bed? And they'll look at me going, who are you? And I go, I'm just somebody. I was visiting a friend of mine, and I wanted to know if there was somebody that hadn't had too many visitors, and you got on my list. So I thought I'd pop in and say hello. And if the friend I came to visit is in there for quite a while, you understand, I will keep visiting Mrs. Whatever and bed 6, ward 2. Why? Because why not? I'm there already. So this is the whole thing. I think, going to any senior home and ask the same question. Have you got a senior that doesn't have family? All right. They've all got to have them, Hawkeye. Just pick up the phone and ask and go, I want to volunteer for something. What would you most need at this time? But it needs to be in, that line of work. And what I would do is I would get my Google map out and make sure I print out the area and find out where all the elder care homes are, highlight them and one by one contact them. obviously start closest to you and then work your way out. By the way, one of the questions I would ask, Hawkeye, is does your travel time count? In other words, if you have to go outside of the immediate area that would take you longer to travel, can you log the traveling hours? I bet you can. All right, because it's part of doing the job is that you go to where you're going. So yeah, ask a few more questions. The other thing is, they will know. Whoever it is that's going to okay you, they will know. Right? So if you haven't asked them, go, okay, we know I need to do 100 hours. Where do you think I'd fit in best? Well, you'd work well with elders and youth at risk. Okay, where would I find them? Do you have a list of the local ones so that save me time? And time is very important now. I bet you they do. So now the thing is, you can keep saying I don't have enough time to look up these things. All right. So I'm a great believer. Cheat when you can. All right. Why work hard? Ask them. They'll know. And by the way, if you manage to find, if they don't want to help you and you find one, when you finished with the one, you go, okay, fine. If I couldn't come and work here, what's the next place that you'd recommend? There must be more in this area. What's the next one? And who would I contact there? You see, the first one can give you leads to everybody else you need. Why? Because you keep repeating that process. Right. So your student advisor sent you a list of possible, but there you go. But the list isn't massive. You don't need it to be massive, Hawkeye. Remember what I said. If you've got one, the one can lead you to the next one. If you've got 5, how many are on that list, Hawkeye? I tell a story. Oh, over 50. I think that's probably enough to keep you busy. And you don't think that is big enough? How many people are there in most elder homes? Okay, you can do this. Stop giving yourself excuses and stop it's not big enough. I won't find work in only 50. You only need one to say yes. I think the odds of 50 to 1 are pretty good. I thought you only had about 5. But what I would do is literally draw the map, see where they all are, right? So I'll start with the ones closest to me first. Less travel time, but find out if travel time counts. How many of you know that reading will interrupt your negative thoughts? By the way, it doesn't matter what you read. You can read, romance novels. You can read mysteries. You can read educational stuff. You see, when you read, it slows down the hamster wheel and it distracts your brain from what it was thinking about. Now, it's a pleasure, Hawkeye. That's why I'm here. Helping people with stuff like this is what I do. It's why I started this. So think about that. By the way, my boy, did he do it? 6'2", 6'4", 7'6", 6'3". How exciting is that? Oh, he's only 19 and he won the US Open, I think. Oh yeah, there are lots of celebration going on. 19 and he wins the US Open. That makes him, I believe that will make him either number 1 or number 2 in the world. The reasons I'm so excited, Jody, where was he ranked when I first said, I'm watching this young Spaniard and I think he's going to be quite something? I think he was ranked number 20 something. When I happened to watch him and I went, that guy plays the most exciting tennis I've seen in a long time. Jody, it was 6 months ago, whatever, and he's gone from whatever he was there. He was in his 20s or 30s, right? And he had made about $1 million already. But you understand, in that time, Jody, less than a year, right? I think it was about 6 months maybe. He's gone from number 20 something. This will probably put him to number 1. What a story. It might bring tears to my eyes. However, the fact that I cry at that thought, is that negative brain juice or positive brain juice? If I'm crying with joy, can you imagine doing that at 19? And he's such a cute little thing, too. I just want to go up there and give him a hug. All right, so Hawkeye's saying audiobooks work well for him, right? Yes, I do that. I have trouble focusing on a book when there's so much chatter in my head, but audiobooks hold my attention better. That is exactly the point. Do it in a way that works for you. I find that if I listen to an audiobook when I go out to the mailbox, I'm inclined to continue walking because I'm enjoying the story I'm listening to. Make sense? And by the way, I also use it as a benchmark to see how I'm doing. If I find I can't read physically for more than a page, what do I know? A lot of hamster wheel stuff going on. But on the next day, if I find I can read for 2 pages, I use that as my test. How am I doing? All right. And what I do is I go, oh, that's awesome. I managed 3 pages today before the phone fell. Or in my case, I want the phone to fall pretty early because I'm trying to sleep. So if that means if the phone drops, or tries to drop just within a page or 2, I'm going, I did good work settling myself down before I did this. I believe he will be number 1. Yes, Jody, that's my thought. So it's going to be very exciting. But my question now is, do you understand why I intentionally go back every hour to re-look at my stresses? Does that make any sense? Why do I go back every hour to go through the list again and go, am I still, really angry about this? No, because I've got a plan. Am I really frustrated about this? No, not anymore, because I've decided that's a waste of time. Am I really sad? Right? Yes, Jody. I go back to see how I'm doing. It's a progress report. Now, I was out yesterday and I did I like to multitask. You all know that. So I did a multitasking, get fresh air, get creative, and get achievement, all at the same time. I decided that for my creative time, instead of being inside, I'd take it outside and I would paint. But I was going to paint the railway ties that surround my property. Now, think about this. That project started about 4 days ago. Why? Number 1, do I have the paint that it needs? Yep, it's in the shed. Now, for those of you who are regular watchers, my shed is an evil not to be visited too often. And I had planned to get it all emptied out and sorted this summer. Not going to happen. Other stuff got in the way. So here's the thing. I know that the can is in there. And I opened the shed. You guys would love it. I opened the shed up, the door, and I literally stood there like this. And I went, now, where would be the right place for it? You see, that's my first thing. Where would be the right place? Maybe I put it in the right place. And that's a good place to start, right? So I looked at it and I went, oh, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because the right place would be right at the back. There is a workbench and above it are some shelves and they already had paint cans on them. So obviously the right place would be with that lot. Now, and then I laughed and I went, so the exercise for today is squirming my way through my shed, which is about 15 feet long, 20 feet long, squirming my way around to get to the back. And, I managed to get there more easily than before. So obviously I'm getting better in there. And guess what the first paint can was? The very can I wanted. How do you think the brain juice was going? Was it frustrated or was it achievement? And I went, that was all I had to do today was to find the can. Makes sense? So it was like, yay, check mark, got the can. And on the way out, I found the brush that I needed. And I went, oh, this is definitely getting more organized than I thought in my shed. Hawkeye's saying, it's about setting reasonable goals and then adjusting as you progress. Maybe reading one chapter is too overwhelming at first, unrealistic. So maybe it's better to read a page, one step at a time. Absolutely, Hawkeye. And then you end up surpassing your goal, not just meeting it. It makes you feel so much more, have a better sense of achievement. My goal that first day was just to find the can, but I also found the brush, so it was a twofer. Then that meant that I could start the project days earlier than I thought I could because I had exactly what I needed. The next thing was to shake up the can and then stir the can, right? And then I went, okay, it's a nice day. And obviously, I would like to get this done before the rains really start hitting hard. So I went, okay, what am I going to do? And my goal was, Hawkeye, to your point, my goal was to do the top railway tie that most people see. All right, there's one right at the front of my garden, which that's the first, people walking down the road are going to see that one. So I said, that's all you have to do is that one. Did I just do that one? No, I did that one. I did all the way up my driveway, and then I took a break. And then after I took my break and rested my body, because that was a lot of bending and that hurts my back, I then said, okay, the next thing is what needs it most at the back. And what needs it most is my stairs on the back and the top tie on my raised beds. So I started to do that. And I probably, instead of just doing that one, what was it, about 20 feet, 30 feet of wood, I ended up doing 30, 50, another 30, 80, I would say nearly 100 feet of stuff. But then think about this, everybody, because this is my new thing. What do I know? That amount of painting took half the can. So now my next thing is, have I got an heir and a spare? Right? That would be ideal. And I'm looking, I've got half a can, but do I have a second can ready? So I don't have that excuse that I've run out of paint. You see, that's what achievement is about. So I came straight into my thinking time after I'd cleaned up and put everything away, sat down at my computer, and the first thing I did was research, what is it going to cost me for another can of this? And get the screenshot of it and say, my out day next Tuesday is going to Home Depot and buying another can. All right, good to see you, Hawkeye. I also have to go in a few moments, but enjoy your dinner. Have a wonderful, peaceful week. All right. So do you understand that all the time I am planning ahead, not just, I don't want to run out of paint, so I am lowering my stress by making sure I've got that available. Now, sometimes I have to save up for a month, to be able to get it. But I decided that, and the other thing was this, do I need to let go of the need to redo it all this season? Can I do as much as that can will take, buy another can over the winter, and then be ready to continue in the spring? You see, it's all about how I process that. I also believe that none of us is given more than we can deal with, although we don't want to deal with it. You see, it might be our next lesson, whatever this is that life is bringing us, this stress. And staying in stress will bring you more negative thoughts. Every time you get achievement, you will get more bright ideas. Neither of them should take all of your time. If you concentrate only on the fun stuff, you're going to have way more stress. It's only when you balance it out that life is in the moment, right? Now, as you know, I had expected to hear of the results of my second mammogram on Friday. Now, I didn't hear. Some people would stress out, why didn't the doctor call me? I'm going, the doctor didn't call me. 2 reasons. Number 1, whatever came back wasn't red flagged anymore. That could be one reason, right? Unlikely, but it's possible. So I'm going, yay. And do I need to be upset because I haven't heard? No. No news is good news. So I said, isn't that wonderful? I got the whole weekend to enjoy, because the next possible time that he will contact me would be Monday. So I chose to celebrate instead. I had, what did I make? I made mac and cheese. I did all sorts of fun things, I can tell you. Does it make sense that because I'm waiting for that result call, that I and all that's going on with all the emotions this week because of the losses that we've had? Can you understand? I expect to be a little bit more emotional this week than normal, and that's okay. I've opened up the filing cabinet, got a lot of emotion left in that filing cabinet, so I'm not beating up on myself that I'm over emotional. I'm trying to make sure I get enough sleep. But I traded off some of it to watch that procession go through Scotland. You understand? It's about, I'm okay with it. You see, everything I'm doing now is about giving my body and my brain a workout. You know what else I did to make sure that I had my brain distracted? I decided to try a new planner just for the fun of it. A digital planner is a great way to waste an awful lot of time thinking about things other than what's going on in the world, I can tell you. And how many of you know how much I wish I had learned this when I was Charlotte's age? That my ability to do this, that it was up to me. And by the way, not only was I multitasking with the Queen's cortege going through Scotland, I also multitasked writing the outline for this broadcast at the same time as watching stroke listening to young Carlos start his first couple of sets at the US Open. You see, it's my choice. I know that in my life, keeping balance keeps me less stressed, not ignoring stuff. I already, as you will know of me, I already have said, what if both sides of this? What if it's nothing? Yay. What if it is something? Okay. Then what? What would your next step be? I don't have to think, all the way through chemo and radiation, all the rest of it. But the next step will be biopsy. That's all. It's because we don't know the other side. All right. And if it's definitely a mass, then they've got to do a biopsy to find out if it's benign. Next step. That's all I have to worry about. I don't need to worry about all the rest of it. But I do have a checklist because I know when I'm highly stressed, I need to be doing the right things. And I recommend this to people. Have a basic checklist. Have I taken my meds today? You don't have to, just so you can read it. Have I tidied my bathroom? Have I had a shower? I don't know about the rest of you, but when I get under a hamster wheel, my personal hygiene starts to drop a bit. What about you guys? I can't believe I'm the only one. But I've always said, if you want to know what my stress level is, check how tidy my house is. If it's cluttered, I'm under some level of stress. So part of my day is, have you tidied up? You don't have to clean, but have you tidied up as best you can? But I only allow an hour of it, right? I don't want to overwhelm on feeling guilty because I haven't tidied up. Can I check it and say, yes, I've done some today? I realize that my mind is my responsibility. I realize that if I'm under stress, I need to do something about it. And I know that all those feelings that I had this week are perfectly normal. Doesn't make me a nut job. And by the way, how many of you understand that multitasking, watching young Carlos start that US final today, I could have called in sick today. Everybody would have understood, what I'm going through. I could have called in sick today to watch Carlos. I decided not to. Why? All the good stuff will be played ad nauseum on that every news channel because it's a big thing. One of the other things I did, because I do that, what can I treat myself to? And I said, what would I like to have in my life for this fall? And I said, I would really like a dark navy blue long cardigan because I don't have one. And why did I start thinking about that? Because the temperature inside the house is changing. And so now I've got this nice blue. Isn't it pretty? Don't you think it's nice? And it's got really interesting pattern on the sleeves. You see the checkers? And you know what else I bought? You all know that I've loved wearing my Birkenstocks all summer. And I loved them so much last summer, I bought a second pair for this summer. Well, I've lived in them. And then I'm going, any minute now, the temperature at floor level is going to be such that I won't be able to wear them because it'll be too cold at my feet. And I don't want to have to crank the heat way up. That's a waste of money just because my feet are cool. Then I need to put on socks. And I'm going, do they make socks for flip-flops? You see, that's part of my creative time. And they do. Did you know that? They make socks for flip-flops. So I can actually wear my flip-flops as slippers in the winter because I'll have socks I can put on first and I can still wear my Birkenstocks, which seem to help my edema in my feet. So that's, another major good brain juice. I researched it, which was fun. Gosh, they have them. Even more fun. By the way, a huge choice that I had to make a decision on. They won't be here until about October, but you know something? That's going to be about the time I need them. So how many of you can see balancing out your stress is not as difficult as you think? It means that you need to do something, not just sit there and worry yourself sick. Jody will tell you that sometime during the week, she was honest enough to tell me, Sal, I've really been worried about you. And I keep thinking about how difficult it must be for you and da-da-da-da-da. And I wrote back and said, be my guest. Be my guest to worry yourself more sick than you already are, honey, if that gives you pleasure. But I don't need you to worry for me because it's not going to help me one bit. You worrying about me is not going to help me one bit. You making me laugh is going to help me. You being there at the broadcast is going to help me. You doing everything that you normally do is going to help me. But you worrying yourself sick does not help me one bit. But if that's what you want to do, be my guest. Now, I'm certain that Jody almost cried at one point and then burst out laughing because that's who I am. All right. And then, funny enough, Lauren worried herself sick about her mother. And I went, hey, I had quite a serious talk with her last night and said, honey, I want you to see that worrying yourself sick about your mother doesn't help her. Early detection of her symptoms, now that's going to help her. And look how well you did it, that she actually didn't get all the way to pneumonia this time. So I need you to give yourself a pat on the back. But if you want to worry yourself sick and say how stupid you were that you didn't notice it even earlier, then be my guest. Not going to help your mother one bit. Make sense, everybody? Worrying does not help you or anybody else. Worrying is a total waste of time. And what you can do is identify the facts. I am stressed. Why? Because da-da-da-da. What are you going to do about it? Make a list. If you choose not to do anything, that means you're not in control. Or the goals are too big. Remember that one. Keep them very simple so you can check something off every day. It is within our control if we want it to be. And last lesson, it takes practice. Practice takes time. I did not go from being a worrywart to this sort of half Zen person that you see overnight, right? It took time, honesty, and practice. And the more I practice, the better I get at it. And the better I get at it, the more ideas I have on how to stop it. This is Dear Mama Sal saying to you, you control your brain. When you lose control, you need medication. I've been there. Doesn't make you a bad person. But I know for me that the medication doesn't fix me. What fixes me is when I start getting a healthier lifestyle, when I get my life back in balance, when I refuse to have the excuses that I want to have because that'll allow me to do nothing except worry and feel sorry for myself. That causes all sorts of problems. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, thank you for being here, Jody. Thank you so much for dealing with whatever you deal with so that you could be here. You will never know how much I appreciate that. But part of me knows that you already know that. But it won't stop me telling you every time. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, we are in control if we choose to be. Or you can just carry on worrying yourself sick. Your choice, not mine. Bye-bye for now.